So today I've come to Flixton and I'm talking to Dave, who's kindly agreed to tell me about something strange he's seen whilst walking in these woods. And as you can see, there's 3 other people there, and there's another lady totally independent to Dave who's going to share the same kind of story, which is fascinating because I think you guys will remember me speaking about it before. And there's Dave there.
Hello.
Hello, Dave. You'll remember me speaking about it a few weeks ago, and I'd told people about this story, or a couple of dog walkers had got, of seeing this strange, almost semi-transparent animal. So, Dave, just tell us about what you saw, please.
Well, it was October time last year, and we'd walked all the way around the wood here, up the top. One of the dogs had gone up the top of the wood onto the tree line, and all of a sudden he came charging down. I wasn't really paying any attention because I was on the phone to my brother, and he came flying down behind me, and I thought, what the hell was that? Looked up, I was with my partner, Avril, and we looked up and we could see this black shape just on the tree line, about the size of a Labrador.
How far away?
I would say it was, oh crikey, 200 yards?
200 yards.
Something
so
like
even
that.
At 200 yards, it's only the size of a Labrador?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was a black shape, but it wasn't the shape of an animal.
Right.
It was like a rectangle.
Wow.
And it was moving on the top of the tree line, just gliding along, but there were no legs.
So you could see the gap between the bottom of this object?
Yes, you could,
yeah.
It was in the trees, but about, I would say, 2 feet off the ground.
Right.
That's estimating because it was a bank, so you couldn't really see. There were trees behind it. And it was like just floating, just moving along. If I'd not known any better, I'd have said it was a shadow of a lorry.
Except
but there's no way you could.
We're in these woods.
We're in the woods, yeah.
So there's no way.
And we both looked at it, and I said to my partner, I said, did you see that? She said, yeah, I can still see it. I said, what is it? She said, I have no idea. And she's very sceptical.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, Dave, we're looking at it, or you're looking at this thing, you're saying about the size of a Labrador, so we'll assume it's about 3 foot by 2 foot deep.
Something like that, yeah.
So rectangle.
But as it moved, you'd expect if it was an animal, it would undulate with the legs walking, or if it was a bird, it would flap. But there was no, it just glided.
Definite square edges?
No, I wouldn't say it was square edges,
Okay.
but it was a rectangular shape. But it was, there was no particular, I don't know, like a sausage or something like that, but there was no form to it.
Well,
you wouldn't have said it was an animal. You
that's
know what
interesting in itself. And are you going to show us, have you got time to show us roughly where you saw it?
Yeah, we'll go up. It's a fair way, yeah. But,
okay.
Yeah. I can show you where we saw it and then have a better idea of
the lay of
distance.
Land. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And what about your dogs then?
They didn't seem too perturbed, to be honest with you. I mean, Albie, the spaniel, when he came flying down, well, something frisked him for him to come charging down like that.
Are they both your dogs?
No, one's my partner's. We don't live together. One's my partner's and one's mine.
But they're pretty keen spaniels, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. Well, he's a cockapoo, actually, but he is trained to find people.
Yeah, I see.
So he will take a scent and follow it. And he'd obviously gone up there because he'd seen something. And then he came flying down at a rate of knots because he didn't like what he'd seen, obviously.
So you do think it probably disturbed dog a little bit?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't think he was happy about it, but he didn't seem to be, you know, it didn't put him off the rest of his walk. He didn't cower or anything like that. Where you'd think if it was something nasty, he would have sort of shown some kind of...
So what's it made you feel like now when you come up here then, Dave?
No,
are you curious though?
I'm curious. I want to know what it was.
Yeah. And what time? What time was it? Ish.
I would say mid-morning time.
Mid-morning. So
and we met a lady coming, as we'd seen it, there was a lady coming the other way, and she had got 2 black Labradors. And I said to her, I said, were your dogs up top of that hill about 2 or 3 minutes ago? She said, no, they've been with me. I said, only we've seen something up there. And she said, well, I come down here every day. She says, no, I've seen things, but I thought they were deer.
Right, okay. But you're looking for a plausible explanation, aren't you?
Well, I've worked outside all my life. I've been a walker all my life. I like the countryside. I know what animals look like. Yeah. And I know it wasn't anything I'd ever seen before.
So jumping back to it then, it's daylight. It's not a trick at light, really.
It was good visibility. It's pretty much the same. So it was September, October last year. So the visibility was about as it is today.
Right.
And I am long-sighted, so I can see things better at a distance.
Yeah, yeah.
But I say we both sort of looked at each other and said, well, what was that?
Well, I know your partners don't want to talk about this, but what were her views?
Well, she's a skeptic anyway, but she said there was definitely something there. She said, I don't know what it is.
But did she think the same as you? It was rectangle shape?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. No sounds, no noise,
No,
nothing?
nothing. You know, you'd expect if there's something running along, you'd hear the twigs snapping and leaves going and everything, because it was autumn time. Didn't hear anything.
Well, Dave,
perfectly silent.
Well, what we'll do then, we'll pick this up when you get to roughly where you and your partner saw it.
Yes, righto.
One last thing, what year was it?
Last year.
24. 2024,
yeah,
so we're not travelling that far back in
time,
are we?
No, I've not been back up since, only simply because we've been doing other things, you know, but we decided to come up, and so we're speaking to this lady here, and she said she'd seen something up here, and we thought we'd come up and have a look and see if we can get some answers, really, because it's just mystifying.
Well, it's great you sharing this, because it might make other people feel confident enough to talk about what they've seen and experienced up here.
Yeah.
So Dave, thank you. We'll pick this up in a minute. Where do you think you were when this cube-shaped thing appeared?
Well, it was a bit further up, about where the dog is at the top. I know better because we could actually see the top of the skyline, the ridge line, if you like, there. Yeah. But so I was actually on the phone, so I wasn't paying that much attention.
Okay.
Till he came charging down behind me.
And you thought?
And then I looked up to see. Yeah, I just thought.
Dog's acting peculiar.
Well, he come down that quick, didn't he?
Yeah.
Straight behind me, nearly took me out. And I looked up, and then I looked round, and then I just saw it. And I said to her, it's just appeared.
Okay. It's fascinating, really, isn't it? But I'm wondering how many other people have seen this.
Well, probably a lot of them wouldn't say anything.
And let's not forget, you're within, what would you say, a quarter of a mile or half a mile of the RAF base?
Not far at all. Would have been here. So, up there.
Right.
And
it's just moving along.
He came charging down, we were walking up here, and it went all the way along, and then we lost sight of it over there. So we saw it for, I don't know, 15 seconds or something.
It must have been within the trees, was it?
It was in the trees, but you could see daylight underneath it.
Yeah.
It was difficult to work out. You know, you see something, catches you unawares.
Yeah.
You don't expect to see anything out of the ordinary, do you, really?
Is it?
Just want to know what it was. Curious, yeah.
But you're literally there in line with the RAF base, and we've got some that's 200 yards.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing about 200 yards, yeah.
And no noise?
No noise at all.
Yeah. So that was Dave telling us about this strange object that he's seen in, I think, September of 2024. And you guys make your own mind up what this could have been. I think it's fascinating. Thank you. I don't know, just about land and animals. Okay, so I've just spoken to Dave, who's told us about this strange, I don't want to call it an animal, I don't know what it is, that he's seen in September 2024, and another lady's joined him, totally unconnected to that sighting, to tell me what she saw. I don't think you were on your own, were you, Amanda?
No, I was with my husband. Well, I think it was 2015. We were just walking down this hill with our two collies at the time. We happened to look up at the bank, and
a similar area, really.
we were walking down here, and it was that bank there. I'll tell you that now.
Okay. If we walk up here just to where I've been speaking to Dave, we can get an idea, because they're still stood down there. Your sighting of whatever it was and theirs are about 200 yards apart.
Yeah.
And what reaction when you saw it, Amanda?
Basically, we were walking. We had the two collies, or what we thought was the two collies, running along the bank here.
Yeah.
So
this bank.
This bank here, down to near where they stood.
So that bank's about 5 or 6 foot in it at the beginning.
So we're walking along. The dogs, as we thought, were along the side of us. And then all of a sudden, our other dog, we thought we'd got the two there, came from near the bottom, basically screaming with his tail between his legs and shot off.
Oh, the dog was frightened?
Oh, he was terrified.
Really?
The dog that we thought was on the bank with the other dog wasn't. It was only one dog. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, yeah. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
thought both your dogs were running
Yes.
along this bank?
Yes.
And then suddenly, because you're just walking and observing, I don't know, woodland. Then one of your dogs comes running from where they're stood.
Yes.
Up to you, yelping and screaming.
Yeah.
And
but then we could still see the figures of two dogs.
Right.
Or what we thought was two dogs. But basically it was a dog and a dog's tail. Or what looked like a dog's tail.
Really? What colour?
Black.
Black.
Black. It was very hairy. But all you could see was the tail as if they were running side by side. And then, of course, Millie, the dog that was running up there, she came down. This other thing was still there. And we both turned to each other and said, did you just see that?
That's incredible.
And then our panic was the dog that had bolted. So that way we set off into, my husband went down the hill. I went back up to go round.
So you went up there, so it's like
Yeah.
a search party?
Yeah. In the end, I rang my husband and said, I'm going home for the dog whistle. So I got into the car, left my coat on the gate for the dog, got down to Staxton garage. My husband rang and said, I've got the dog, but please hurry up because this other thing is still with me and it's basically floating along at the side of me.
Wow.
And that was down on the bottom track by this time.
And so there were an awareness to this other thing. It knew
it was as if it had tagged onto our dogs.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
So how big was it, Amanda?
Size of a collie, like a spaniel size, sort of.
But all you can see is a back.
All you can see was the hairy, like a long tail, back, whatever it was. I can't really.
And was it off ground?
Yes, no legs.
No legs. So
when my husband saw it at the bottom, it had no legs. It was floating.
I'm asking you all questions because I'm trying to get my head around it. So it's floating, and did it look square at the bottom, or did it just look fuzzy and rounded?
I don't know.
No,
I only saw
the back.
When it was behind my collie.
So it's about 2 foot off ground, 3 foot.
Maybe a foot and a half, maybe 2 foot.
Yeah, it's a similar height to your dogs.
Yes, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. No, I've always had the feeling that you'd been watched.
Yeah.
Up here. Even before this.
Yeah.
We didn't come up for a long time afterwards, and obviously we'd come up occasionally with the family, but
it's a strange story, isn't it?
But yeah, like I say, it looked like two dogs running along the bank, and then Fran, the other collie, he came out from basically down there,
right,
shot up here,
and the other dog it was definitely yelping and crying.
Yeah, he had his tail between his legs, and we were like, oh no. And then Millie, the other collie, she came down the bank to us. And then the other thing was still there, and then it disappeared. And like I say, we both looked at each other and said, did you just see that?
Wow.
But then panic over the dog, that was our concern.
And then obviously when your husband comes back, this thing's tagging along.
Yes.
When did he lose sight of it?
I don't know, because I pulled up with the Land Rover to pick him up, because I literally got to the roundabout and came back up for him.
Yeah.
And he just ran through the dog in the car and got in the car.
So this thing was still wandering about.
Yes.
Yeah, it's frightening.
Yeah.
Amanda, thank you.
Right, okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, the witnesses have gone now, and I'm just spending a short time kind of summing up what it is they've actually seen. Obviously, we don't know what it is, but from the descriptions that they've given, it sounds like they've seen something that's almost between worlds, not quite formed, but with enough substance for them to be able to see part of it. And also, whatever it was did have an awareness of them and the dogs, an affinity almost to dogs, because two lots of people have been dog walking and it's been paralleling the dogs literally 15 to 20 feet away, and it's obviously got an awareness to it. It obviously knows that something's there. I'm not saying it knew they were dogs, I'm not saying it knew that these people who were observing it were actually people, but everybody's heard me talk about the stories in the areas of East and North Yorkshire, and in particular the accounts of the Flixton werewolf. And although it's impossible to say that's what they saw, remember we've got two separate lots of witnesses here, and an account that I've been told previously of a similar thing, seeing the shape, the form of something covered in fur, but no head, no legs, just this outline that's clearly there, is this the beginnings of what would have formed into something that people would have described as a bipedal or fur-covered dog and described it as a werewolf? Who can say? But we've just heard two independent witnesses on separate occasions say that they've seen something of a highly unusual nature. Literally 200 yards apart, both lots of sightings. Kind of makes you think, doesn't it? So for the last transmission, I'm going to end it there. Hope you've enjoyed. We'll catch you next time. Thank you.